Welcome. Going to have a casual discussion tonight. We're going to leave the chat open. We're going to take questions at the end of this. We have a whole bunch of different things to cover this evening.
We're going to talk about what players can do to help the escape room industry from their homes and what owners can do to grow their businesses during this time. We're going to talk about Room Escape Artist's latest feature, the Hive Mind reviews, which we're super excited about. We're going to share some thoughts about how the industry will evolve coming out of this. We're going to tell you a little bit about Recon, which is, I'm sure, something that you already have heard of. But if not, you'll learn more about it soon. Mm-hmm. And also, we're going to tell a story tonight. It's a fun story. Yeah. And at the end of all of that, we're going to have some time for questions. So type your questions into the chat, and we'll get to them all at the end, or possibly in the middle, but definitely at the end.
For those of you who don't know us, I'm David. This is Lisa. We are most of Room Escape Artist, although our team keeps growing. Can't even say that anymore. RoomEscapeArtist.com. We've been writing about the escape room industry for 6 years, writing reviews, tips for players, tips for designers, tracking the growth of the industry in the United States. We run escape room tours when we're not all trapped inside. And we're also going to be hosting a conference at some point. So we're going to dive on in and start off with what players can be doing from quarantine to help the escape room industry. We kind of have two categories of things here, stuff that you can be doing now and stuff you can be doing for the future. Because escape room companies have two really different needs going on.
So the first need is the now, which is really hard as a player to think what you can possibly be doing for the industry from your home. And one of the things that has come up a lot in conversation on the internet and that people have asked us a lot is about buying gift cards, which is absolutely something that you can do for these businesses. It is not a huge thing, but it is something, and puts a little bit of money in their pocket.
We haven't been too bullish. There was a meme going around for a while about how saving the industry through gift cards, and we didn't really buy into it just because it would take a staggering amount of gift cards to really keep everybody afloat. But it's a nice kindness that you can absolutely do for escape room companies that you want to support.
And there's something more that you can do right now, which is to play games created by escape room companies from the comfort of your home. Many, many companies are creating all sorts of different play-at-home experiences. Many of these are online. Some of them are sent through the mail. But this is a huge opportunity for you to support them by playing their games, just by showing them that you care. Some of these are free. Some of them cost a little bit of money. And there are a lot of really great experiences out there. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that later in this stream.
Yep. For the future, there are a couple of things that you can be doing. One of the things, and we've never, as a community, I think we're not that big on Yelp and TripAdvisor and Google reviews and Facebook reviews and all of that, mostly because it's not that useful as a player, as a discerning player. Those are not very useful for us to find great games. However, that is how the general population finds escape room companies. And one of the things that you can be doing right now to help escape room companies in the future is to give them positive reviews on those platforms. This is the lifeblood that brings in new customers into escape room companies, also into the hobby itself. Now, this is not. Let's all go and decide whether we should be giving 4 stars or 3 stars. If you're not going to write a 5-star review for a company, I would say don't write it. Write 5-star reviews for companies that you love and respect. And for now, just leave it be.
And don't write 5-star reviews for every company that ever existed. Yeah. This is to support the businesses that you love and that you want to see continue to grow.
But it is absolutely a kindness that you can extend. It costs you nothing but time, and well, a lot of us have a lot of time.
Another thing you can do in that same vein is to think about how you're going to help new players get hooked. Just like new players find escape rooms by reading Google reviews and TripAdvisor reviews and the like, They find escape rooms through friends who love escape rooms. And so think about ways that you can bring people into this hobby when we do all start to leave our homes again. And also how you can be a really good teammate to those people.
One of the things that we'll do as it starts to look like things might open up again is we're going to put out more content, maybe do a live stream to help players understand and learn how to be better teammates to newbies. It's something that we put a lot of effort into. It's legitimately a skill. And sometimes we're better at it than other times.
And sometimes we're conscious that we need to be doing it. And sometimes we forget.
Yeah. But there's actually a lot of different tangible skills around being a good, experienced teammate to newbies. So those are some things that players can be thinking about and doing now and in the future. As far as owners go, we have a whole blog post. We put out a whole blog post with tips and all sorts of information about the small business loans, which is, we've heard some companies have gotten them. Others, it's all in limbo. That things have run out. We're hopeful that Congress will authorize more funds to actually see this program through. We're not going to talk about that right now because it's a mess, and I don't think anybody actually knows what's going on right now.
And we're not the experts,
right? But we have a whole section in there that has been written and maintained by the folks from Strange Bird Immersive down in Houston, Texas. They are brilliant, they are wonderful, and they're super kind for making all of that information available to the community through us. We're also working on a whole bunch of other posts that should be publishing over the next week on different aspects of how the escape room industry really needs to adapt in a post-quarantine world. We're going to talk about a few of those things today, but we're going to have a whole bunch more coming over time. So some of the things that you can be doing right now is, doing some intellectual work to improve your games, intellectual or physical. You can be planning out your designs for future games, which I think everybody knows. It's hard to do this stuff when you're actually running a game, when you're actually running a whole company.
And I think it's fair to say that it's hard to do it when you wish you were running your company.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it's easy, but it is a good time, if you have time, to be thinking about future designs and future ways you want to design things.
And to dream. And I wouldn't honestly encourage people to start spending money on builds, especially expensive builds right now. But thinking forward what you want to be doing. And we can talk a little bit later about some different ideas that we've had in terms of how the industry can be operating. So someone remember to ask that in Q&A.
Another thing that you can do is you can do refurbishing your games, and that doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't mean changing out props. It can mean changing out props. It can just mean a little touch up of paint that you already had lying around. It can also be more intellectual type of refurbishment, thinking about where players always get stalled. Where do you have to give the same hint over and over? How can you tighten up a little bit of clue structure or make one moment a little bit more exciting? These are the types of changes that you can start figuring out now while you have the time to do it.
The last thing I want to talk about in this category is your website and your SEO. There's been a trend right now of escape room companies shutting down their servers, turning off their websites to save money. And while I totally respect that, like cutting costs is essential right now, I think some of these companies are making a mistake that they're going to pay for later in losing SEO, losing placement in Google. The longer you go with your site shut down, the worse it's going to get for you. At the same time, you have an opportunity, if you have nothing else to be doing, to really refine your website, to work on your SEO, to do the research and do the homework. It's not fun work, but it will pay massive dividends later on if you put in the effort. So positioning yourself so that you rank better than your competition down the line will lead to more money later. So these are a few of the ideas that we put out. We're going to be putting out a whole bunch more, and that's kind of that.
The next thing that we wanted to talk to you a little bit about is a new feature that we have on Room Escape Artist, and it is the Hive Mind reviews. So we've been writing very detailed reviews on Room Escape Artist for 6 years now. It's been a lot of content, a lot of reviews.
Over 1,500 posts.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's just crazy. And I think, it seems like we put out content very rapidly because we put out content every day. But that's not the case. We spend a lot of time thinking about deliberating, writing, and editing every single review. The creators of the games that we're playing have put years of time, many of them, into building these experiences. And we're trying to provide very thoughtful, nuanced critique of these games. And now is a different time.
Yeah. So over the last few weeks, we've been inundated with requests to review these brand new online escape room variants that companies are putting out to, either for free just to entertain and remain and keep themselves relevant, or some of them are making paid games, paid experiences. And we're getting tons of requests from the creators as well as the players to review these things. And Room Escape Artist was never built for speed. So we have had to adapt. That's what we do. It's what we all have to do. And what we did was we created this new system called Hive Mind Reviews, where we have brought in 11 people from all over the United States. They're brilliant players. They're thoughtful players. They're people whose opinions we really respect. Not just because they're skilled at solving puzzles, but because when we've played with them, they've given us the kind of feedback that makes us stop and think, okay, this person not only has interesting insights, but they have a perspective. And that's something that we really wanted to shine a light on and help put out into the community.
So we wanted to thank them. Some of them are writing under, I'm going to thank them under the names that they're writing under. Some of them are writing under other names, but we have Brendan Lutz, Brett Caramandel, Diane Kobrinovitz. I have not said these last names out loud. Michelle Calabro, PG Law, Richard Burns, Sarah Mendez, The Lone Puzzler, Teresa Piazza, and Teresa W.
We think that attribution is really important. Whether someone is writing under their full name or under a pseudonym, we really think that it's important that people are able to learn the perspective of a reviewer, because I don't think it matters whether you agree with me every time about a game. What matters is that you understand the perspective I'm coming from, and you can look at it and say, oh, that's the thing he always gets pissed off about, and it never bothers me. And so I think I'm going to like this game. That consistency is what really allows someone to connect with reviews and makes a review useful.
I think what's been really interesting in the Hive Mind reviews thus far, we've published 2 of them and we have 2 more coming out this week, is that we see a lot of similarities. You see a couple of times different reviewers will mention the same thing, but you also see differences. You see somebody loves something that somebody else hated. Probably not hated, liked less. In general, they've enjoyed the games that they've played, which is great. But we're enjoying reading their different perspectives and being able to pull that together into one post, which is a new and different thing for us.
Yeah, so we're really thankful to the reviewers that we brought on, and we're really excited to see how this whole crazy experiment that really came about over the course of a few days evolves, because the team is fantastic. One other thing that I wanted to address is that we've added a rating system to this, and Room Escape Artist has been militantly opposed to rating systems since day one, and that's a whole complicated thing that we can talk about a different time if someone actually wants to hear my tirade on rating systems.
David will tell you a whole story.
There's a whole story there. But basically, what we've done with it is we've created three levels. It's 3 stars. It might change to different symbols, but we pretty much have it as, I don't recommend this, I recommend this during quarantine, and I recommend this at any time. These are broad categories, and the stars aren't really represented. It's not a score. 2 stars is not a 67%. We're just trying to gauge, is this something that's evergreen? Is this something that's not fit for human consumption? Is this something that's great for now when we're all stuck and just, want our puzzles.
And to be honest, we think that most of the reviews will fall into that middle category of this is a great experience for now. I'm enjoying doing it from my home while I can't go play escape rooms. And it was a fun thing to do with friends over the internet or just me, myself. We're really excited to find some experiences that are going to stay long after escape rooms open up again.
Right. And that's fine for now because you could only watch so much Trashy Tiger Guy. So that, and as games start to emerge, and we think that there will be games that emerge that are really doing something special, that are pushing this whole new branch of the medium forward, we'll probably go back and do an in-depth, proper room escape artist analysis where we pick everything apart in that way that we do. And hopefully, and one of the other things that we hope will come out of this is we're going to be bringing insights from our reviewers to the community to help people create better games in the future.
And to that end, we asked our reviewers for some tips. We just asked them before we got online here. And so they shared with us some player tips, which I think are great. So we're going to share with you some player tips from the Hive Mind. The first is that, so if you're playing collaboratively, you have a couple of options usually for playing an online game collaboratively. One is that multiple people can all log into the game separately from their own devices in their own homes. And if you're doing that, one of our Hive Mind reviewers recommends Google Slides as the best collaborative canvas for this type of experience. Everybody can work together in the Google Slides and they can all put in the answers on their own devices.
You can just drop a screenshot in, people can type on it, people can draw on it. It's a really clever approach.
There's also the approach where one person logs into the experience, sometimes because only one person can, and that's how the functionality is built, and then screen shares that with their friends in other parts of the country, world, state, whatever.
Or next door, because you can't see your neighbors.
Right. And that has also worked really well for people, just doing a screen share through Google Hangouts or through Zoom. And chatting with each other and having one person who's responsible for typing all the things in.
Another thing that we've been finding is that soloing many of these experiences, especially the free ones that don't require a human being to game master it, soloing is totally fine for these things, especially if you're really into the solo aspect of puzzling, which is, that is absolutely one way to enjoy it. And
I think the last thing that our Hive Mind said is that you can expect variable quality in these experiences, as you can for pretty much any experience. And so it's okay to not love everything as much as you want it to.
So we also have a few design tips if you're working on something like this. One is that your website should really set clear expectations for what the experience is. There's a lot of different stuff from, kind of a first-person adaptation of an actual existing real-life escape room to different variations on puzzle hunts. There's a whole bunch of different things that we're starting to see, which is cool. We love the creativity that's coming out of it. But just set expectations. Make sure people understand what they're getting into, because fun can be won or lost in expectations. Next up, we had game masters. This came a tip that came from one of our readers, Barry Joseph. He played a game where the game master was eating lunch while facilitating this and crunching food into the microphone. Not great. You probably could totally get away with that if you're game mastering a real life escape room. It's a bit awkward if you're actually crunching in someone's ears over the internet.
Just be aware that your setting is different if you're game mastering one of these.
Yeah. And then the last one that we had for now, and there'll be more coming, is that if you're adapting your real life room for digital play, where usually you've got some variation of the players are telling the game master what to do and the game master is actually doing it, think through what interactions are fun, and interactions and puzzles. What are fun to solve intellectually versus physically? There have been interactions like jigsaw puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles are good. They're tangible in a real life room. There is nothing fun about watching someone solve a jigsaw puzzle through a camera, unless it's Tammy McLeod and you're watching one of her time-lapse puzzlings of where she puts together like a 4,000-piece jigsaw puzzle ridiculously fast because she's a witch and we should burn her.
But I think the message is it's okay to adapt the real life games you have for digital play. So it's okay to have to change the puzzle flow. You're going to have to make it fun, because what can be really fun to do in real life is less fun to instruct somebody else to do.
Yep. So now some thoughts about how the industry is going to evolve in the coming months. And we'll open up with the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room is that companies are going to close. And that is a fact of the world right now. But that was also a fact of the world before right now. When we published our industry report in August of 2019, we were already seeing a flattening of the curve of the escape room growth. And
the type of flattening that we hope to be seeing now in our regular lives.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, companies were already going to close. It was inevitable. And for the most part, the closures that we have seen now are still the companies that weren't going to make it. Yeah. And while this is a tragedy for individual people and businesses and families, and our hearts go out to these people, that isn't necessarily representative of a tragedy for everybody in the industry.
Yeah. The longer this goes on, the more companies that shouldn't be closing will, if there isn't proper legislative support of small businesses. That's the thing that we're really worrying about. The companies that closed immediately when shutdown happened, those were almost certainly companies that were going to close this year anyway, or when their lease went up in however many months. So moving along from that, we have some speculation, and that is, we honestly believe that escape rooms are well poised as a medium of entertainment in a post-quarantine world. Looking at the different guidelines that are being published around what a reopening of the economy looks like, we're expecting to see slow increasing in the caps on the number of people who can be in a place at the same time. And escape rooms benefit from having a very small attendance count.
They're intimate activities, and they're going to have a place immediately as soon as people are able to leave their houses and spend some time with their friends again.
People are going to be clamoring for stuff to go out and do with their friends. And escape rooms are a great opportunity, are a great option for that. And it is a great opportunity for the industry if the companies position themselves to capture people's imagination and attention on the flip side of this.
And in order to do that, escape rooms are going to have to make some changes coming out of this. And so we wanted to cover a couple of these things right now, and we're going to be writing a lot more in depth about this in the coming weeks. But we'll start with a couple of them.
Yeah, a few things that you're going to be seeing us post about in much more detail. First one is blindfolds and hoods. One of our very favorite teammates is a guy named Chris White, who is an eye doctor in Mississippi. And I asked him, let's actually sit down and do an analysis together on what the risks are associated with blindfolds and hoods and things that touch people's eyes. And we have a huge post on this, but coming soon, really soon. It's almost done, just editing. But a few key things that I want to encourage people to think about is, first and foremost, just getting rid of blindfolds or hoods unless you absolutely truly need them for the experience that you're trying to give. And I think most of the time that we've seen blindfolds and hoods, they have not been necessary. Psychologically, we're going to have a lot of people coming out of months of hearing, don't touch your face, don't touch your eyes. And that's going to leave a mark on people. not everybody. Some people are going to be totally happy to go back to normal. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to forever change their behavior and the way they interact with the rest of the world. So if you're using a blindfold and a hood, make sure it's sterilized thoroughly. If you're using the sleep masks that can't really be laundered, you got to give them a fresh one out of the package every time. If you're using blindfolds or hoods, they got to be laundered. And yeah, I know it's a little funny when you get a hood that smells of Tide and then you're dragged into a dank murder basement. But I can tell you, long before now, I have always been very thankful when I can smell that a hood was cleaned. And you can smell it.
The next 2 points you want to?
Yeah. The other thing. Oh, never mind. You've got it.
Oh, well, you want to go here?
Yeah, I'm going to jump.
Okay.
The next thing related to that is sterilizing. Sterilizing things that people have to put their eyes to or near. If you have microscopes, telescopes, peepholes, things that people are getting their eye up against, make sure that your game masters are sterilizing that with a mixture of 70% alcohol. Just don't take chances. It's not worth it anymore.
The next 2 points kind of go together because they go hand in hand with taking the opportunity that you have as a small form of intimate entertainment. Mm-hmm. The first is private bookings, which the US is one of only 2 countries, the other being China, that still has primarily public bookings. So when we've seen in the lead up to quarantine, a lot of companies shift to private bookings. And we think coming out of this, many more will, and that is the safest way to go. Additionally, staggering your start times, it's a small thing, but then you don't have teams sitting in the waiting room together for long periods of time, mixing their germs. So, lean into all the ways that you can be small friend group, family group entertainment when people are still afraid of larger group entertainment.
Another thing that we really hope to see from the industry at large is more friendly cancellation policies, or really rescheduling policies. Escape rooms are kind of notorious for having very punitive, you didn't show up, you don't get to play, we're keeping your money policies. Now, this has a negative effect of encouraging people to show up sick. Whether they have one ailment or another, we would strongly encourage you to have more friendly rescheduling policies, maybe not cancellation. But if people are contacting you 2 days in advance saying, hey, someone's got strep, can we reschedule? Just let them rebook. If someone's calling you the day of, then fine. Tell them, look, it's going to cost X dollars for as a rescheduling fee, but we'll absolutely move you. Make it, make the money, make that fee enough that you can pay your staff and cover the costs, but not something so punitive that people are like, you know what, I'm just going to show up and cough everywhere. So thinking through this, because I think we're entering a whole new era in the way that people are going to be thinking about health and the way they interact with one another in the world. And the best thing that you can do is just get ahead of that.
Transition.
Yeah.
Next topic. So we're going to talk a little bit about Recon. And Recon is the reality escape convention that we are hosting and we're super excited about.
Mm-hmm. People have been asking what the plan is for Recon. And at the moment, to be completely honest with you, we are kind of in the lab figuring out exactly what Recon is going to look like. Recon is absolutely going to happen in 2020, one way or another, whether that is in person or digital. The
form and the structure of what Recon is going to be has to adapt along with this whole industry. And so we know that. So whatever type of event Recon turns into, we're taking care that it's the event that the industry needs right now. And so we're going to be we are with our team, and we have a wonderful Recon team working on this and figuring out what Recon will be.
Yeah, but we're committed to putting on an event, an informative event that will impart the information that is relevant to whatever is happening by the time the summer rolls around.
And we're going to conclude with a story before we get to the Q&A, which we will also do. But we wanted to tell you a story today.
Mostly because we've been trying to reconnect with what we loved about playing escape rooms. And the thing that we love most is never even been the games, and we love the games, but it's actually been the social connections. It's been the people that we meet, the people we play with, and the moments that we get to share with them. We have made so many incredible friends through this industry. And we kind of want to tell you a story about something that happened exactly 5 years ago this week.
5 years ago today, we published the review of this game. And this was it was a Scrap game, Escape from the Walled City.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with Scrap, they are the literal first escape room company. They were the first in North America. They were the first in the world. And they make notoriously hard games.
And this one was a particularly interesting game because it was taking place at the minor league baseball stadium on Staten Island. So we were going to be escaping from a stadium. And so David and I booked tickets to this, and we're very excited about it.
Then we got an email from a person named Amanda Harris. If that name is familiar to you, you might know her as the most experienced escape room player in North America. Also the Guinness World Record holder, or one of the 4 Guinness World Record holders for most escape rooms played in 24 hours. But this was all before all of that.
This was 5 years ago, and someone sent us an email through our contact form, and her name was Amanda, and she said, I'm going to be coming to New York. She was from North Carolina. She's going to be coming to New York to play the stadium escape, and do we want to play with her? And we were like,
sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
As we have said many times since then, that may have been the first time. It's that day, and we're going to this escape room.
We're going to this escape room, and we left a lot of time because we were worried about traffic, and we never like to be late to these things. And then the bridge that we needed to cross to get to the game was closed. And
So
Google Maps wasn't telling us this.
Google Maps didn't know it was closed. It was terrible.
So we had to go through this crazy rerouting, and leaving 2 hours before the game, we ended up getting there 5 minutes after it hit its official start time. And so we get there, and the game masters have just finished giving the briefing, but there are like tons of people, and a lot of them are late because the bridge was closed. And we said to the game masters who were trying to rebrief as people come in late, our friends are already on the field. Can we just run and join our friends? And they said, okay, which is great. And so we have no idea who these people are, but we have descriptions of their clothing and of Drew's mustache. Which was epic.
Amanda and Drew, 2 people we were meeting. Actually 3, and Thea.
Yes.
Drew's sister was with them. So epic mustache. We find them on the field.
Yeah. And we don't even like say hi, like we just kind of like nod, like, okay, we're the right people. And then we all go into like play mode, and we play super hard for an hour. And then at the end, we actually like stop, take a breath, and introduce ourselves. And we
asked them if they wanted to get dinner with us to talk about this game.
Because it was really interesting.
Really interesting game. And they said, well, we can't get dinner with you because we've booked another escape room, and we have to go to Long Island.
And we asked them where on Long Island they were going, and it was somewhere that was like an hour and 20 minutes away from where we were. And I asked, how are you getting there? And they said, we're Ubering. And I said, do you have any idea how much that Uber is going to cost? And they said, no. And I said, do you want teammates? And they said, yes. And then piled into our car. We've
known them now an hour.
Yeah, but only introduced ourselves like 15 minutes ago. And we all drive out to this company on Long Island, play like a 9 p.m. game or 10 p.m. game.
Yeah, it was late.
And
on a Sunday,
we wreck this game. We get out in about 20 minutes, which in 2015 was unheard of. Games were generally far, far harder. And even, we were experienced at the time. We had played like, I don't know, probably 50 games, if that.
Yeah, not even
if that.
Probably not even that.
So we wrecked this game, and after kind of an uncomfortable conversation with the creators,
we got our dinner. We got to talk about all the games.
Right. And we've been friends with these people ever since. Amanda and Drew have come on so many different trips with us. We've played probably more games with them than almost anyone else.
They've come on escape room marathons, day trips, weekend trips with just staggering amounts of games. They've come and supported our tours.
Yeah, even they've come on our tours just to come in and help us out for, while
they've showed up at conferences just to help us out.
Yeah.
They are truly wonderful friends.
Yeah. And that's really reflecting on, that's what escape rooms mean to us, is these interpersonal connections. They're gonna, they've been friends of ours for 5 years. They're gonna be friends of ours for life. And that's what we're missing right now, is that connection. And with that, I think we're going to open it up for Q&A.
That's what my agenda says.
Yeah. So anyone have any questions for us? I see there's a lot of chatter.
That we didn't read because we were talking.
Design tip from Brett here. If you are selling it as a multiplayer, try to find a way to make it so some puzzles can be solved in parallel. This probably means online puzzles aren't part of it. That is an interesting point. Darren, sterilize between each play. Yes. Yeah. So anyone have any questions? Because we're. There was something that I had said that we should talk about, and
I don't know. You should ask me later about some topic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can talk about rating systems. So my general opposition to rating systems, reason why Room Escape Artist doesn't have a rating system, there's a couple of them. The first was when we first started Room Escape Artist, we knew that we were starting this in the infancy of the industry, and we didn't know how bad these games could be, and we didn't know how good these games could be. We were operating under the assumption that we would just keep seeing things that redefined the way we looked at it. And we didn't want to be in a position where we were stuck constantly rebalancing our ratings, which is a thing we've heard from a lot of other reviewers that we've spoken to. I call it the stretching of where someone's gone and they've played a whole bunch of escape rooms. They decide they're going to start a blog, and they know what a good game looks like. And then they travel someplace and they play something that just blows their mind. And they're like, oh no, all of my 5-star reviews are now a 4 at best. And then you go and you play something else and it happens again and it happens again. And because that's really, that happened to us so many times. If we had a rating system, we would have been, what do? You add stars? Do you rebalance people? Do you go and let companies know, hey, you were a 5-star before, now you're a 4, and next year you're probably going to be a 3. What do you do? And we always thought that there were different games that were going to emerge for different people. And so we wanted to kind of help people key into what game would be for them. But the real origin of my dislike of rating systems stems from a college professor who just hated Likert style scales, which is like this 1 to 5 scale system that most social scientists use when they're measuring things in surveys. And he was a major opponent of this, even though it's the standard of really scholarly work in social sciences. And the way that he illustrated this point on the first day of class is he asked everyone to pull out a piece of paper and write 4 1 to 5 scales on them. And so everyone does that. And he says, for the first question, I want to know how big is the moon? And everyone circles a 5. And he says, how big is the sun? For question 2. And everybody circles a 5. Maybe some people go back and they shift their first answer to a 4, but it doesn't matter. Then he asks, how big is a penny? And everyone circles a 1. And then he asks, how big is a dime? And everyone circles a 1. And he basically says, okay, so now, our research has concluded that the sun and the moon are the same size, and the penny and the dime are the same size. And there is a relationship in a factor of 5 difference between these two. And I'm greatly oversimplifying this, but the bottom line is that if you were to go and play a game like The Dome and compare the spectacle, the technology, and the interactions of that to almost any other escape room, it makes even phenomenal games look like bumbling children. That's like the level that this company went to build this crazy world. And that's not, the Dome being excellent is not a knock on so many other games that are excellent in different ways, that are serving different markets, that cost a fraction of what was invested. And we see constantly that there is this like, if I don't have a 5 out of 5, if I don't have a perfect score, then I'm a failure. The companies that get most angry at a review from us, if we had a rating system, they're not the companies that send us angry messages are never the companies that got like a really scathing negative review, which happens less frequently for us because we philosophically try to point out and shine a light on games that are doing great things rather than wave the flag about games that are doing terrible things. We'll wave it if we find one, but we really try to go out of our way to find good stuff. The companies that get really angry with us are the ones that would, if we had a rating system, we would be giving them a 4 out of 5.
Or 4.5.
Yeah, sometimes. They're companies that believe that they have a masterpiece and then find out that it's just really, really good. Those are the ones that just blow their lid and threaten us and do all sorts of weird stuff. And I think that's representative of a cultural problem. It's the same problem you see with Yelp and with Uber. These are, Uber is a system where if you give your driver less than a 5, you're basically giving them varying degrees of a failing grade. That's silly, and that is silly of Uber. It is silly of the algorithmic thinking of the rest of the world. You should be able to rate things honestly on a system and have them be interpreted for what they are. That 3 stars is average, that 4 stars is really good, and 5 stars is an outlier, just as 1 star is an outlier. If we were to all actually look at these systems as something that you can plot on a curve and understand them in that context, I wouldn't hate them quite so much.
I think it bears repeating also at the end of this long conversation that our Hive Mind reviews have stars. They have 1, 2, and 3 stars, but that is not representative of a scale. That is a symbol that algorithms like, that is representing a 1 has a specific meaning, a 2 has a specific meaning, and a 3 has a specific meaning. And we're expecting most of what we review to be a 2 and to be something that we really enjoy playing right now in quarantine. And we are excited to find 3s, and we expect that we will find 1s. We may change that system from stars to something else, but the 3 metrics that we're looking for are not really a scale. And at least for the time being, of course, everything is adaptable, but at least for now, we're happy with that as the metric.
Yeah. So moving on, we have a few other questions. We have one question here. Did we watch the Escape is On online escape room conference on the 9th and 10th? We did not get a chance to watch it. We actually haven't even spoken to anybody who has. So if anyone did, we'd love to hear how it was. Next up, we had from Expedition Escape. How is your day going? How's quarantine? Day's been great. Quarantine is good. I mean, aside from the existential dread.
I would say good. Quarantine is fine.
Our quarantine has been. We have made the most of our quarantine.
Yeah, we've been playing a lot of games. We can both work from home at our full-time jobs that are not this. Mm-hmm. We can both write room escape artists from home. And we've been playing a lot of escape rooms. Last night we played one of the boxed unlock games over Google Hangouts with friends, and review coming soon. Yeah. So it's been good. Yeah.
I mean, aside from the existential dread and worrying about our friends in the escape room world and worrying about, our friends who are doctors and nurses and, people who have to be working, honestly, this is the easiest apocalypse I've ever had to live through. Yeah, so next up, let's see. What else do we got? Sorry, there's a lot of stuff here.
Should have had a moderator.
Yeah, no, should have a moderator. Next time we'll have a moderator. Sorry. Someone is talking about the board. Andrew is recommending the board game Wavelength, which I have not heard of. But Andrew Reynolds, he has great taste in my experience. So in board games, so I would expect that to be good. Yeah, let's see. So Alan Baldwin asked, you talk with a lot of owners. What is your guess with when escape rooms will reopen? I have heard anything from June 1st to sometime in 2021. Honestly, we have no idea.
I think we don't know, but I mean, if the country and the world open up at different times, it's going to be different no matter where you are. It's going to be different when small businesses in your area or any businesses in your area are allowed to open up, and when things start moving again.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. My feeling is if someone is saying and giving you an answer with confidence, I would question them on an intellectual level, because frankly, I've been obsessively looking at the different reports, and and there's nothing concrete. Maybe it's soon, maybe it's far, but I couldn't tell you. I wish I could. Please tell us more about the Club Drosselmeyer Puzzle Hunt ARG Kickstarter. Okay, yes.
Oh, great question.
Great question. So I am helping out. I'm the web designer on a Kickstarter that is going on right now, led by Kellyanne Adams, who is Kellyanne is one of the creators of Club Drosselmeyer. And she also created another game called Save the Mumbacks, which is sort of a Harry Potter-esque magical puzzle experience that we didn't get a chance to play, but we heard was fantastic. Kellyanne had this. Kelly and I were talking, and she had this idea of making an online puzzle hunt where she could employ artists who were out of work. And the more money she raised, the more artists she would bring on to create art, to create videos, to create music, to whatever would, and writers,
to bring this puzzle world to life.
Yep. And I believe there's 1 day left on the Kickstarter. It is, we have a post on it, but the experience is, it's the Society for the Protection of Magical Creatures. And I'm just building the website. But I'm also solving the puzzles as they get sent to me to put them into the website. And I've been really enjoying what's been coming out. The art is really cool. The team is doing some really nifty stuff. So if you have some money kicking around and you want to support that kind of thing, I think the project is pretty close to hitting its stretch goal, which is the goal that I'm really excited about, of creating a softer entry point and kind of an in-world hint system that can help soften this and make it more friendly to new players, which is something that I'm particularly passionate about. So yeah, so that's a thing that I've been helping out with, and I think it's really cool. That's why I joined the team. So Darren is asking, how does unlock work over conferencing? Do you have one camera on the cards in play while another on the players?
It wasn't the smoothest playthrough. We had to pause the app so we could have extra time.
Yeah, lessons were learned. But basically, we had
the cards laid out on the table, and we had the camera on the cards, and then we had. What we ended up doing, because it really wasn't clear enough to the players who were only playing over the camera, was taking photos of the layout cards and emailing those so that they could open the photos of the cards on large screen. They had 2 screens on their end.
Yeah. One
where they had the photos of all the cards laid out, and one where they were chatting with us.
It worked pretty well, but we all decided that the next time we're going to decide further in advance what games we would be playing, and they're going to buy a copy of it so that we can just play in parallel and not have to do that. So that's what we would do next time for sure.
But the nice thing about Unlock, I will say, is because it has the app, both we could download the app and they could download the app. And so at least everybody could put those solves in.
So, all right. Hourglass Escapes has a really interesting question. When reviewing a game, do you speed run the game or take your time? The answer has changed over time, but we genuinely try to take our time. There was a point in time when we were younger players who were very exuberant about getting the best time that we possibly could. Also, around the same time, we were much more in danger of actually losing. Games were a lot harder in 2015 and 2014, 2015, and we were less skilled players. So we used to try, just play super hard. Now we're pretty lackadaisical. I don't know if newbies would feel that the way we play is lackadaisical, but we really take our time. We do our best whenever we play a game to try to play it the way we're sensing the creator wants us to play it. So if you're playing a game like Super Bomb Squad from Doldrix in Orlando, Florida, which is a really cool game, this game is like begging to be played fast.
And so we did.
It's like, frenetic. It's got this like pumping like 16-bit video game soundtrack, and like I think I compared it in the review. I think I called it the Sonic the Hedgehog of escape rooms. Like, this game just wants to be played quickly, so we played that one as quickly as we possibly could. But unless we are understaffed, if it's Lisa and I and no one else, and we're playing a game where we probably should have 4 people, we're going to play
or more
really hard. But otherwise, we try to, we slow down. We have a rule amongst our team, and that's if you think you're about to trigger something cool, to let everyone know that you're going to do it, so that they can all come and be a part of that. So we really do try to take it in as much as we possibly can. We've also reached a point where we're like, well, the game is an hour. We want to take up as much of that as we can. We still get out of games fast, sometimes faster than we want. But that's, sometimes that's just a function of either how much puzzle content is in the game, or sometimes things just click, even if you're not playing hard. And especially if we're playing with a really skilled team, sometimes things just click, click, and click, and next thing we know, a door is open. So yeah, we do try to take our time. Let's see. Richard Burns is saying, is it even possible to move Recon to a locality that may be less strict in group size restrictions in late August? That's probably a taller order. Right now, a lot of this has to do with interactions with the venue and contracts and, figuring out what options are.
We are investigating. I will say that we are investigating all of our options. Some seem more feasible than others. And as soon as we have information to share, we're going to make that available on Room Escape Artist and through Recon, which also has its own social media accounts and website. And we hope that we're really soon on announcing some more information.
Yeah. 19 hours left on the Kickstarter, according to Andrew Reynolds. Thank you, Andrew. Please back it if you got the money and it's something that sounds appealing to you.
We have 3 minutes left.
Yep.
If there are any additional questions.
Yep. Oh, the Kickstarter is well. Oh, thanks. Apparently, the update, because it's been a while since I looked at it, the Kickstarter has cleared that stretch goal, so I get my hint system. Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Any last questions? We'll tell you, been enjoying the official whiskey of Room Escape Artists, which is Writer's Tears. It's delightful. And this is not sponsored. I'm just making that up. It's not official. We just really like it. Tyler B. Robinson is asking, should I open a new escape room right now? My advice, honest opinion, if you have not opened up, if you have not signed a lease right now, would be...
Is this a new facility or a new game?
Yeah.
Well, answer your question. Answer it the way you were going to answer it.
Yeah. I'll answer this. If you've truly not signed a lease anywhere, I would wait. I would wait until we are in a place where there is a little bit more confidence and certainty in the world. Keep dreaming, keep designing, maybe make your game in your basement or whatever. Keep refining what you've got. That's what I would say if you have not signed a lease. And it's not because I don't believe in the future of the escape room industry. I honestly do. And I think that we're going to see the companies that survive this are going to enter into a much less saturated market. And I also think that we're going to see some entertainment industries that require large numbers of people to keep them afloat are going to really struggle in the future. I think that the movie theater industry, bowling alleys, things like that are really, really going to struggle. Escape rooms are in a great position in a post-quarantine world, as I said earlier. But I wouldn't sign a lease until things are more confident. If you are designing new games, if you have an existing escape room company, this is the question that I wanted someone to ask about. Think, and this will be the closing thought. Think weird. Get weird. You don't have to make everything a blockbuster game. The Terpeco Awards, Golden Lock Awards, we rebranded. Other review sites, we all love to make a big deal of some of these really big budget games. But at least over on Room Escape Artist, we've got a lot of low budget games and not necessarily low, but at least modest budget games that we've absolutely loved. We give a lot of Golden Lock Awards to those types of games. My advice to you is to get creative and to get weird with what you're making. Get experimental. If you have a facility, assign a portion of that space to something that you can comfortably spend under $30,000 on. Get more abstract, get more creative with it. Do something on a budget where you can cycle it year in and year out. That way you can always provide new content, because I'm actually afraid of these massive budget games. I'm afraid of the games that cost $200,000, $300,000 to build, because they have to be open and operating for years before they can turn a profit. And then they have to stay open and operating for years after to actually get that return on investment. And if we reach a point where new games are opening so infrequently that people just play out their markets and they have to travel, most people aren't like us. They're not going to get on a plane and, on a fairly regular basis and, to go and see all of the best games in the world that they possibly can. We're fortunate. We're so fortunate that Room Escape Artist has afforded us that opportunity. Most people don't have that. You have to nurture your local market. And one of the best ways to do that is to create really creative, really unusual, experimental content. And maybe what gets born out of that is, you cycle it for next year and you realize that in that experimental concept, there was one idea that gave you a whole different idea and you build a whole separate room on it. But give yourself permission to get weird, to do stuff that's different, and to expand the idea of what an escape room is, because there's so much power in that. And there's so much more money. There's so much more money in doing something really well on a budget. And I love these big budget games, but man, I truly respect it when someone does something on a shoestring that just captures our imagination and makes us super excited to tell other people to go there. That nothing makes me, as a reviewer, as a player, as a creator myself, nothing makes me more excited than to see that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it. I want to say to everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting us, for reading our blog every day, our website. For those of you who support us on Patreon, for that support, for the ideas that you send us, games that we should review, that our Hive Mind should review through email and on social media. Thank you for all of that. If you want to see something different out of these live streams, we're playing with a new concept here, and we would love your feedback, good or bad, things that you're looking for out of this. We want to support you during this time, but from our house. So let us know what else we can do.
Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay sane. We hope to see you in a real life escape room sooner than later.